David, thank you so much for being willing to jump on with us today. Before you get started, just letting you know you've got permission. So if you'd like to share your screen, but no pressure if you don't have anything for us, it's totally fine. I'm also
Awesome.
I'm also going to really quick give you a high-level introduction for everyone who hasn't made the acquaintance. So David, he is the COO, so Chief Operating Officer at Ivory Homes, the company that he's been with for almost 18 years now. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That is quite the track record. I understand that there's some individuals in here that are probably that age. So quite the perspective. We've got a lot of experience in the room with us today. David graduated from the University of Utah. We're excited to be able to have him be with us here today. I met David when he and a few other various individuals from Ivory Homes came up to recruit from Utah State for a position a while ago. And we're hopeful to be able to get him and other individuals from Ivory Homes here more often. So David, from there, I'm going to turn the time right over to you.
Terrific. Can you guys hear me all right? Can I get a thumbs up? Okay, awesome. Great to be with all of you students here today. This is really cool. In fact, it was a couple real estate classes that I took during my undergraduate studies that really intrigued me in the field of real estate and ultimately led to the first job that I had here at Ivory Homes, and then continued thereafter in a weaving road to where I am today. And so I am a fellow finance student / graduate. So I love finance. I love that it is so versatile and it offers so many different opportunities. So super cool that you're able to hear from a lot of folks today on the opportunities within the finance realm. When you think of real estate, I'm going to make this a little bit interactive, and then we'll do the Q&A, of course, at the end. But when you think of real estate, what's the first thought that pops into your head? Let's hear a few answers.
Buying and selling homes.
Buying and selling homes. Anybody else?
Mortgages.
Mortgages. Yep, another good one.
We've got millionaires. Sorry, Parker.
What was Parker's comment?
Oh, just needing a lot of capital.
Needing a lot of capital. Yep. So if you take a step back and think about the world of real estate, I would guess that most people, when they think of real estate, would be the first reaction similar to what Parker mentioned, or Parker Hadley, I should say, when he said buying and selling real estate. For most people, it's the most significant investment that they'll make in their life. And so it's a really big deal. And we think a lot about that. As some of the other comments came through, you thought about some of the other aspects of real estate. You talk about capital. If you intend to invest in real estate, it is expensive. And so you need a lot of capital. You think about mortgage. And so if you take a step back even further, you think about the many different opportunities available within the real estate realm. It was mentioned residential real estate, which is the one that most people think about first. Well, there's so many aspects even to residential real estate. You have so many different product types. You have condos, you have townhomes, you have single family homes, you have AUDs or ADUs, excuse me. You have all these different ways to go about. You can rent, you can buy, you can lease. And so there's so many elements of that. When you get into the commercial realm, you have office, you have retail, you have medical, you have all these different components of what makes up the commercial real estate space. And then there's also buying, there's leasing, some of the other aspects, property management. So if you have a lot of capital and you own some of these commercial pieces, you have tenants. And so you have people who oversee that leasing. You may own or be a part of a group that owns an apartment complex. So you have property management. And all of these things suit well a finance grad, particularly the ability to crunch numbers, to be very methodical about those numbers and be able to apply them to whatever the issue is at hand, whether you're trying to help somebody get into a property, whether you're making a value proposition to someone to buy something or to sell something. I think those are all really big deal. There's also the mortgage side of the business, which is a huge business. Who can tell me something unique that's going on right now in the world when it comes to interest rates? 30-year mortgage interest rates.
They're going extremely low.
Extremely low. Was that Juan? I think so. I apologize. So extremely low. We are at all-time lows when it comes to the 30-year interest rate. And why is that? What's going on in the beyond coronavirus? What is behind the extremely low interest rates?
Isn't it like inflation is super low right now, and the Federal Reserve is trying to get that inflation back up?
My speaker's really low, so I didn't hear that very well, but I did hear some aspects referring to the Federal Reserve. Do any of you have, well, if you have a savings account at like the local bank or credit union, you've never been paid any interest, or you've got a couple pennies occasionally. But is there anyone here who has an online savings account? Ally, Marcus, one of those accounts? Anyone? Okay, so those who do, what's happened to your interest rates, your dividends over the last 3 months? Money is very inexpensive right now. So there are a lot of opportunities. You get into mortgage. I know some very successful people who have gone along these paths, whether it's in mortgage, whether it's in sales, whether it's in development. That's another huge aspect when you look at analysts in the real estate space and looking at different projects. Just like when you're looking at, per se, a market investment, you're running pro formas, you're running analysis, you're making a lot of assumptions, you're doing a cash flow projection, you're looking at all of these things to see if this thing pencils at the end of the day. And there's a lot of components that go into it. So there's very sharp minds that are looking at these sort of activities. So I've given a very broad brush. I hope some of this has been helpful, at least sort of as a primer. I think it would be awesome if it's okay with you, John, if we went ahead and opened up for questions right now so that I can be a little bit more prescriptive.
Love it. Go right ahead.
Real quick, I got a question.
Yes, please.
So, obviously, I haven't bought a home yet, so I don't have, any experience in that kind of field or anything like that. But I'm planning on majoring in finance and stuff. That's my first year, so I'm just kind of testing the waters right now. What would you suggest, kind of moving forward to try and getting, some more experience, or, besides, buying a house, obviously that's later on. But, just kind of getting used to the whole real estate idea. What things can I work on right now to kind of help, give me a little edge, moving forward if I decide to go that route?
That's a really good question. And I'm going to start high level as it relates to everything in the finance world, and then dial in a little bit more on finance, on real estate.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest suggestions I'd have, and this actually came from a political science professor that I had during my undergraduate studies, and he always talked about being a student of the game. You hear that phrase used if you're a sports fan, but really understand what is going on in the world around you as it relates to finance. These are unprecedented times for so many reasons, the current pandemic that we're living through, and it has such a huge impact from a financial standpoint. That's what everyone's arguing about. That's what the two major political parties, I mean, there's other differences too, but what's being held up in Congress right now? How much stimulus? More, less? What type of stimulus? Where does it go? Who gets it? How do they get it? So all of these things revolve around the world of finance. So dig this time up, understand it, follow the news. Even if you're just catching the headlines on a daily basis, you'll see fascinating things that are happening around us. And when it comes to the world of real estate, I would really understand how mortgages work. I would understand how people get qualified for a mortgage. What are the components that go into a credit score? How do you make yourself a qualified buyer? So I would understand all the components that go into it, and then also just look at the real estate market around. They're frequently doing articles, particularly in the two major Salt Lake papers, about what's going on in the world of real estate, and it's very fascinating. So whether it's real estate or another area, become a student beyond what you do in the classroom. This will be invaluable for you.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it.
You bet, Parker.
I have a
Hey,
question.
David.
Yes, please. Who is that? Was that, I think I heard from Juan and also Mike.
Go ahead, Juan. You go first.
Oh, thanks. I've heard a lot of people talk about a mass exodus out of cities, centers, and into the suburbs. And I hear other times that people are saying that that's always been happening. So what I just wanted to see what your take was on that current situation due to COVID.
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up question. Are you talking pre-COVID or post-COVID?
Well, I guess post-COVID.
Okay, because I would answer that differently depending on the time frame. There has been a real push in a lot of cities for more urbanization, and you see that even in a city like Salt Lake City, where, you know, in years gone by, downtown Salt Lake City is totally dead come 6:30, 7 o'clock. In fact, most restaurants aren't even open because people aren't going downtown. There's been a huge push to get a lot more housing downtown to make downtown much more vibrant. And I think that's been the case in a lot of metro areas. And a lot of people have poo-pooed the idea of urban sprawl when you get people spread out. Okay, what happens when COVID hits? Man, people want the heck out of downtown for a few reasons. I mean, I still believe there'll be very strong downtowns. But a lot of people have shifted the thinking towards, man, they reanalyze priorities. They want to go have a little bit more space, spend a little time with loved ones, perhaps a little bit of more space in the yard. And it really has. We haven't seen a ton of it, I'd say, in the state of Utah, but in a lot of the big urban areas, there's definitely been a big push from urban to suburban. Particularly as people are working more from home. They're like, hey, if I'm going to be here all the time, I may as well be on my back patio and not in a concrete jungle downtown. So great question. Mike.
David, so my question relates to your background in finance. How has that helped or hindered your position as Chief Operating Officer?
Oh, I love it. I think what my finance degree really gave me, even though I honestly don't use it a ton in my day-to-day responsibilities, I think it gave me the critical thinking and the real comfort with numbers and analysis and in making things meaningful. Are there any accounting accounting students on here that I'm going to offend with my next comment? Okay, I'm going for it anyway. You know, a lot of accountants, and I say this to my good friends who are accountants, it's like, great, you crunch numbers. What does it all mean? I think what a finance degree gives you is the real ability to add meaning to all the numbers that are being crunched and the thoughtfulness. And there are aspects I absolutely use. I've been a part of our investment committee when it comes to market investments as we look at both stocks and private equity placements. And then our development team, even though I'm not as involved there, there's a ton of pro formas and things that are done that use an incredible amount of finance. In terms of hindering me, I think if anything, it's just been that I kind of came into this role and I have been since that time, as kind of more of a jack of all trades and not really a master of any. But that's also served me well, as I've learned hats in other realms of business like HR, risk management, and all those other operations management, the things that everyone just loves.
Gotcha. Thanks, David.
You bet.
David, this has been phenomenal. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I know we've got a couple more questions coming in. I direct you, please reach out. I put David's contact information here. David,
Perfect.
David is a busy man, so be understanding if you don't get a response in 5 minutes. Just be patient, guys. He's got a lot on his plate.
Awesome.
Real quick, David, before you jump off, just to let you know, and I'll be working more with Juan here. So Juan, the student that was asking some questions earlier, this is for everybody. He's the Real Estate Association president here at Utah State University. And we here at the university are going to be marketing our students to participate in Ivory Homes Innovations Hack-A-House event going on. So more information to come. Juan is going to be working a lot with me to help market that towards students. But if you have any questions right off the bat, reach out to Juan or just look up Ivory Homes Innovations Hack-A-House.
Yeah, Parker, Hadley, check that out. That's going to be huge.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
for sure.
recruit some members there, so please reach out.
Awesome. And sorry, I see there's some questions over to the side. I wasn't looking. I was looking at all these little squares of you all.
Again, reach out to David. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Good luck to you all.